So the carburetor is back on. I replaced the bearings. I mounted the case, the new piston rings. I'm gonna put gearbox oil and try to start it. So I am basically back to the starting point of this morning. And now that I know that the engine is mostly fine, there are 3 topics. One are the suspensions, front and back. Cleaning this stuff, it's not gonna be quick. Then the whole electric system has to be checked. I would also like to have 12 volt working okay, because I will need it for the navigation instruments. Then brakes, that's another topic. Situation update. Back part is gone. Now the main headache will be with the wiring harness. Yeah, it's a research time. Just have to go online and search whatever I can find. Ideally make just one order and then put everything back together. Right, I was saying this is the situation now. But yeah, basically it's just the frame. The plan is to clean it up and then paint it. What's challenging now is actually the weather. It's about -7 degrees outside and 0 to -1 here. So working and painting, it's not really ideal, but I've already ordered most of the parts I need, so I just have to get the frame done and then start mounting it back. I decided for the suspension to send them to a professional shop. Right, so I'm at Laura's university, so at least it's not freezing cold. I'm gonna start painting the small bits, so I get a feeling of how it goes. I've removed the paint on the parts where it was more rusty. First I'm gonna prime it and then paint it with a red paint. I do have fairly low expectations. I just hope that the new paint will not peel off. If that doesn't happen, I'm already happy. So now, here's the situation. I don't know if what is in the frame and what not, but I gave a first, well actually 2 layers of primer on all of this. And now there's this one that I still have to prime and then paint. I've covered up the frame number and unique identifiers. And this is the situation at the moment. I finished with the primer. So we got the small parts here. And now I'm going to start with red paint. So I've done the first layer. Overall it's not too bad, but yeah, too early to judge. So it is still in the house because it's quite cold outside and the paint is drying. But I am fairly happy with the result. And as you can see, here is where I covered up the frame number with tape. So what you see back here is the original color, well, this is a new one, so it's not far off actually. Right, so here's the wiring loom, and I think it's the messiest part of the bike. A lot of wires are just cut and dead end. Like this is supposed to be for the horn, I believe. These 2 are supposed to be for the turn lights at the back. The regulator, so this is the one taking care of transforming the alternate current to like the 12 volt continuous that goes to the, in theory, the battery, which is not there, which is supposed to be this one, I believe. Well, I don't even know anymore. And in addition to that, you see one wire is broken. A lot of connectors are in bad shape, like this one. And here I have 800 euros worth of new parts. This is the seat cover, speedometer. I got a lot of bearings for the suspension link, swing arm, this kind of stuff, brake pads, clutch cable, throttle cable, new chain, brake caliper revision kit, This should get me to like a good, I would say, 90% of the build. Welcome back. So update, new bearing. This is the other one that goes on top. Then new how's this called, sleeve or something. And then I think I will do this. So here's the situation of this morning here with a swing arm. The problem here now it's with a swing arm, which I think it's the part of the bike in the worst condition. There's a lot of rust on the suspension link, and there is this bolt here which is completely stuck. I mean, I can rotate it, but I cannot really get it out. I will have to replace the bearings in here. Right, so I've cleaned up the swing arm, replaced the needle bearings and the bushing for both of them. Unfortunately, the seals were not available, so I had to use the old one. To place the engine in the frame, I need the help of Laura, as, even though the engine is not heavy, it has to be aligned with the swing arm at the same time. With the frame freshly painted, I have to be extra careful to not scratch it. Finally, with a few gentle taps of a rubber hammer, we managed to set the engine at the right position, and I can continue alone from there. Good. Now that the engine is in, I'm gonna do the radiators. First, I route the wires of the stator and secure them with zip ties. Then, I mount the ignition coil. The two radiators quickly bolt into place with 4 screws, and then I start measuring the new hoses that will replace the old brittle ones. And finally, I firmly connect them using screw clamps. It almost looks like a motorbike now. Engine is in, radiators are in, new hoses. Next, don't really know actually. I think I'm gonna try to fix and replace the bearings of the suspension link, the rear shock. I start by cleaning the external surfaces to remove any remaining grease and dirt. Then I remove the seals and heat the link up with a heat gun to help the needle bearing removal. With a hammer and a pipe of the right size, I push the old bearings out and do a final cleaning of the surfaces. Alright, so I've cleaned up this one and replaced the bearings and bushing inside. Unfortunately, these ones I could not find them, so I cannot replace them because I don't have the new ones. But luckily, between the 3 of them, this one seems to be the one in the best conditions. Then what I have to do next are these two. So they have bearings in here. So I'm gonna replace the bearing and the seals. Now it's done. They look nice. What I still have to do is to clean up all the bolts, nuts and washers that at the moment are soaking in vinegar because it helps removing the rust. Right, so I started tackling the wheels. I already removed the bearings, and as you can see, it was quite rusty in there. These are the bearings of the back wheel, and these are the ones of the front wheel. So it's good that I replaced them because they are not doing well. Right, so new bearing in place, and I've also opened up this one, which is for the speedometer. So I opened it up, cleaned, removed the old grease and dirt, put new lithium based grease, and now it moves smoothly. So then it's the back wheel, and that's it for the wheels. I will do the tires later on. I'm gonna start from the front tire. I'm gonna replace this tire, which even though it still has some kilometers that could be done, but they are so old that it's not rubber anymore, it's hard plastic. Then I have to check all the spokes to see if they're loose. So it's quite balanced already, not too bad for an off-road rim. And you see it has these here all over the side of the rim, and these basically they grip to the side of the tire, the outside, so that the tire at low pressure doesn't spin on the rim. But I've never seen this thing before. I used to normally put this one on the inside like this, so it basically pulls the tire against the rim for the same effect. This is some old school kind of thing. The back rim is also not bad at all. So now I'm just gonna check the spokes again on this one too, and then new tire, new sprocket, and clean up the brake disc. I use a piece of tape to mark the spoke from which I will start. Then I slowly rotate the rim and check every fourth spoke. I then repeat the operation until all of the spokes have been checked. With the spokes done, I can remove the old inner tube and replace it with mousse inserts for better grip and to avoid any puncture. It takes quite a bit of technique and the right tools to mount the tire with the mousse, and I'm still very slow at it, but every time it gets easier and easier. So what I've got to do now is to check the situation here with the front brake caliper. So as you can see, this is not good. I got a revision kit that should have included these ones. So I'm gonna open it up by unscrewing these two, split it, push the pistons out and replace the seals. Okay, change of plans. So actually these two are so tight that I can't really get them loose. So I'm gonna try to replace the seals without splitting the caliper. I already got one out just by using compressed air through the intake. But now the challenge is to get the other ones out. I've got the 4 pistons out, and what's left inside are the seals. That would be these ones. These are the new ones. So I have to get the seals out, clean everything up, and then put the new ones. Bada bam! Progress. So I've got the suspensions back, 1 and 2 here. Then I've got the mousse insert for the front tire. I've painted this one. I'm still struggling with the brake caliper here. What I'm gonna do now is mount the front suspensions so that I can put the handlebar and the electric system and also the rear suspension. And ideally, by the end of the day, the bike will be able to stand by its own and not anymore on the central stand. Let's go! First, I mount the rear suspension and torque it to specs. Then I move to the front forks, being extra careful to not over-tighten the clamps and that the 2 legs sit at the same height. After that, I bolt on the bottom part of the handlebar clamp and temporarily mount the handlebar. Alright, so it's wheel time. Normally, in a normal bike, you would have inner tube or even like tubeless, and you just inflate the tire with air. But yeah, when doing off-road racing, there's the high chance of getting a puncture either in the tire or in the inner tube because of the low pressures that the tire is set to have higher grip. And if you get a puncture during a race, basically you throw away the race. So for some years now, instead of using air inside the tire, it's quite common to use basically a foam, a donut of foam that goes inside. It has no air and therefore it cannot be punctured, and it allows to have lower pressure and more grip. What I bought now are these ones, which, as I said, normally it's just one full donut, but these are just a lot of small pieces that will go in the tire, and I've never tried them actually, but you see it's kind of spongy, and that should do the job. Before installing them, I have to lubricate them with some gel grease, because the worst enemy of these foam inserts is heat, because when they heat up they start falling apart, and then of course you lose pressure and can't ride anymore. So I have to lubricate them, all of them one by one, put them in the tire, and then mount the tire on the rim. Okay, so now the inserts are in. Now it's a matter of mounting the tire on the rim, which is one of my least favorite activities, especially now with the mousse insert, because it's basically like mounting a tire which is already inflated. So tire is mounted. With the front wheel ready, it is just a matter of sliding it between the forks and secure it with a wheel pin, much easier than the rear wheel. Right, so now that the front wheel is in, I'm gonna put the stand so that I can lift the bike up, and then it should be standing by its own legs. Ta-da! Looks funny. So the back wheel especially, it's just temporarily in place. Actually, what I think I'm going to do is go here and do the airbox, subframe, all sort of accessories that are missing on the swing arm. Right, so I've been mounting some of the small parts, like this one, plastic guards here, as well as all this kind of stuff, springs for the central stand itself, this one, the chain guide on the other side. So now what I'm going to do is to put the airbox and the frame that you see over there, which is going to go here, and then I can do the electric, the wiring loom. Damn, things are moving fast. I'm gonna do the wiring loom now, which is not very complicated anyway. It's super cold at the moment, so I'm gonna have to heat it up with a heat gun so it gets a little bit softer, otherwise I'm gonna break these old wires. Wire it up, connect it to the stator there, the ignition, and the regulator here. When that is done, then I think I'm gonna do the airbox with the air filter there. Carburetor too. New air filter, new pre-filter. Good morning. So I managed to route the clutch cable and the throttle cable. Now what I'm gonna do is to mount the carburetor and the rubber connecting part here. So now that the carburetor is in, I have to mount the brake caliper inside here, so that there's no space anymore for the wheel to move, and then it will go the chain. The chain I bought was slightly too long, so I had to remove 2 links to make it fit on the bike and close it using a split link clip. Then I'm on the brake caliper arm to stop it from rotating. Okay, so now basically the back part is ready. Mounted the chain, adjusted the tension. This is all temporary anyway. As you can see, I still have to work on the rear brake caliper, which is missing the connection to the pump. Next, fuel tank. I have to open the tap because it was leaking, so I have to check it out. And then ideally I think I would like to fix the front brake caliper first, so at least I have one of the 2 brakes. I'm very tempted to test it without, but it's risky. As the fuel tap was leaking when open, I tried to disassemble it to see if there is any dirt inside that could cause the leak, but most likely it seems to be a problem of old gaskets that are supposed to seal the moving parts. Now I've cleaned up the tap. I didn't test it yet, and I'm not sure it made much of a difference because the plastic and the rubber inside are so old that, you know, they don't hold anymore. But unfortunately they don't sell a replacement of the rubber. I would have to buy the whole new tap, like 20 euros. Worst case, I'm gonna do that. But before I mount the fuel tank, I want to put the exhaust on, so that's next. Alright, so let's make a point of the situation. The exhaust is mounted. I mean, hopefully when everything is fine I will either replace it or fix it, paint it, whatever. Here at the connection point between the 2 parts is missing some I don't even know how it's called, but basically it goes in between the 2 so that exhaust gas cannot leak. Otherwise I would have, as it was before, junk everywhere. So that's missing. I'm not very convinced about this coolant hose because this is supposed to make a sharp turn over here. Yeah, it doesn't work properly. And it's very close to the exhaust pipe, which I'm not sure how that will play. Then here, one of the parts where the spring is supposed to connect is broken. I made another hole, but I missed the spring anyway. So what I'm going to do, and here I still missed the brake caliper, but to get some extra motivation, I'm going to put water in the radiator, fuel, and try to start it and see how it goes, and then do the front brake. Time to try to start it. It's quite cold, so I think it's gonna be a struggle, but let's see. You see there's a bubble here. Well, it's not cold anymore. Now I'm gonna check if there is a spark. So spark is there, then why is it not starting? Not only I did not manage to start it, but after kicking and kicking and kicking and getting more and more frustrated, this is the result. Broken Kickstarter. I think this is gonna be these are not easy to find, I believe, and still I don't know why I couldn't manage to get it started. So I wanted to do this to get extra motivation, but it just got worse. Now considering the disappointment of the broken Kickstarter, I'm going to try to do something which should not have major surprises or challenges, which is placing the new cover on the seat. So finally I managed to replace the seals of the caliper. I put new pads in. Looks nice. These are the old ones. Then I cleaned up the superficial rust on the hose. I think this has been replaced already, as I doubt back in the days they had the braided hoses, so that's fine. Now I opened the pump. I emptied the old oil, which, well, I still have to clean the inside, and then I'm not, at least at the beginning, I'm not gonna open the pump here because it was working fine and I don't have any replacement part anyway, so there's no point in risking making damage. I'm just gonna try it out. So clean it up, put new oil, mount everything on the bike, and then bleed the brakes and see if it works fine, and then that's it. Otherwise, I'm gonna worry about it when it's time. Bleeding the brakes is a pain. Doing it alone is even worse, as I have to go back and forth between the brake pump and the caliper. Good news, the pump is working. Bad news, the caliper that I just changed the seals is leaking. That's annoying. Now I have to figure out which of them is leaking, which of the pistons, and see what I can do about it. But alright, so problem solved actually. Wait, I'm gonna show you. So the problem was that one of the seals was damaged, probably during when I mounted it, when I pushed the piston in place, because I struggled quite a bit, but I replaced it with another one, which was not bad, and now it works. So the brake is hard and the wheel is spinning. There is a little bit of friction at the moment, but I think it will just sort out later after a few kilometers of riding, as the brake pads are new and everything is new. Well, everything. So yeah, next is basically do the same on the rear one. Now this one might be a bigger challenge, as when I got the bike, the front one was working, but this one was not. So I'm not sure if it is the caliper or the brake pump, but well, the caliper is exactly the same, so that's nice experience. And yeah, I'm just gonna check. Indeed, the condition of this, the rear brake pump is much worse. As you can see here, it's rusty, and the piston on this side is stuck. Plus, this is the color of the brake oil, well, fluid that was there. I guess, I mean, most likely it's because it's closer to the ground and to the wheels, so gets way more mud, humidity and water. Well, the inside is not too bad. I have to see now if I can manage to get it unstuck. Also, it's not really possible to find repairs for these, like rubber parts, O-rings, and some kind of refactoring kit. So I have to be careful not to damage what's here, otherwise I don't have a brake pump. Okay, so new day. Yesterday it was about midnight when I called it a night. So what's the situation now? The seat cover is on, and actually the credit goes to Laura, because she did most of the job. There is still a little bit of slack but it was super hard to put it on. And I think it's okay like this. Eventually later when using it, probably it would get softer, and it would be just enough to remove part of the nails and pull it a little bit more. Then, and what's the situation with the caliper? The caliper was quite in bad conditions. I think there was water as well inside, so there was quite a lot of rust. I removed 4 pistons, cleaned it up. This is the screw for bleeding the caliper, and it is rusted, and there's a lot of it is clogged. Plus, it's missing the steel ball inside, so we'll have to find a replacement. But here is the caliper, so with no pistons in. I cleaned up the holes there. So the other problem is that these 2 screws are so stuck that I couldn't really manage to get them off, and that just makes it even more annoying to work on this, because it's harder to handle and I have less space to work with. I cannot really put it back yet because I'm waiting for the new seals. These are the old ones, so they should arrive in a couple of days. And then I'm gonna put the caliper back together. But the real problem is with the pump, that the piston is stuck. I managed to push it out a little bit yesterday, but still not enough. So that's gonna be a challenge. I didn't really know what to do with the piston here. It was stuck so bad. And then a friend of mine gave me the suggestion of using, I don't even know what's the name of this tool, to basically make a thread in it so that I could have some grip and pull it out, and it worked. As you can see, it's full of dirt. I mean, this should be a very clean place with just brake fluid, but it's full of shit. So I'm very happy that I managed to open it. As I could not find the replacement parts for the brake pump, I have to carefully clean it, especially the rubber bits, to bring it back to life. I also polished the inside of the cylinder with a soft wire brush to make sure that the piston can slide freely. Alright, so I managed to put it back together. It's moving freely. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put brake fluid and leave it here for a couple of hours to check that it's not leaking. Alright, so here's what I'm about to do. Normally this bike does not come with a battery, so lights and all the electric stuff works only when the engine is running and producing electricity. But considering that I cannot start the engine now because of the Kickstarter, and it's kind of annoying to debug electric wiring problems with the engine running, what I'm gonna do, I'm going to temporarily connect the battery so that there will be current in the wiring, and then I can check with the voltmeter, with the multimeter here, if I get electricity to where the lamps are supposed to be, if the brake lights switches are working, and all of that. Hopefully I don't fry everything up. Okay, so here's the situation. Over here at the front we got 3 wires that would connect to this one, which is the place where the light bulbs go. It has 3 connectors. One for the main beam, then there's the high beam, and then there's the position light. So each of these ones should get 12 volts when the bike is running. And the connectors for that go to that one are these, oh shut up, are these three. So when I test this one, it's 13 volts, this one 0, probably it's the high beam, and this one also 13 volts. So now the blue one was 0 because the high beams are not enabled, but if I switch it over, now the blue one also gives me 14 volts. Now the problem seems to be the tail light here has 3 wires. One is the ground, the brown one is the ground, and then there's the position light and the stop light. So I would expect the same, to have now 12 volts on one of them, the position light. The stop light would be 0 until I make the contact between what will be the stop switch. But when I test the other two, I always get 0 or about 0. Good news, both stop lights are working, and I found why the back position light is not working. So the white cable is the responsible one, and as you can see here, the white and the brown are chopped off. So this one has been here for a couple of hours and still moves smoothly, and there are no leaks, so that's good. It's ready, I think. The headlight here, you see, it's not working, and that's because I noticed it's missing the grounding. So as I said, these 3 are center for the position, high beam and low beam, but there's no grounding connected, and it's supposed to be this one. I found the broken bit that would go here, and this is the 4th connection, and that's for the grounding, which of course without that one the light doesn't work. I will melt the metal bit here, drill a hole into this one and try to replace it. Ta-da! Seems to hold. Let's try it out. Look at this. Position lights. Now I'm gonna activate stop light, and now let's go to the front, turn on the headlight, low beam and high beam. It works. All right. I just got back from the race in Tunisia. It was amazing, by the way. And in the meantime, I got some of the parts. Well, actually, most of the parts I need. First of all, Kickstarter. Otherwise, I can't really start the bike. Then the seals for the brake caliper, so I can put it back together. Stop switches, front and back. The new intake flange, I think it's called, connector anyway. And a couple of other small things. So here is the situation now. There's not too much left to do. I have to put the rear brake back together. This is the one to be replaced, the intake flange. Okay, so the brake caliper is back in place, as well as the brake pump. Now this is the difference between the two, the new one and the old one. As you can see inside here, it is the rubber of this one is cracked, and it's far from ideal, as then air can get through and mess up with a mixture. So I'm gonna mount the new one the gasket, and that should help. Let's see. There's a problem. So this is the reed valve that goes like this. You see it inside, and this is basically like a one-way valve. So these flaps open, allowing air and fuel to go in, but not to go back. And I think this is not the original one, and it doesn't fit with the new intake. Let's check that the new fuel tap is not leaking. Okay, this seems to be working. So what I'm going to do now is to check the carburation again, the settings with the needle and the jets. Then I'm gonna hook up the carburetor here and check that, how is it called? The floating thing, which is meant to stop the fuel coming in when there is enough in the chamber. I'm gonna check that that works, because if it doesn't and fuel keeps pouring in, it's gonna drown the engine. So I'm gonna check that and then put everything on a bike and try to start it once more. Alright, so I've been checking the carburetor. There are a few parameters to look at. One is the needle position here. So you see there are different slots, and according to my altitude and outside temperature, it is alright that it is at the second place there, over here. So it's at the second place from the top. Then the other one is the size of this jet, 185, should also be okay. And this one underneath here, which is 58. And finally, also, this is the one that stops fuel coming in when it reaches the level, and should be parallel to this surface, and it is. And finally, there is this adjustment screw that can be adjusted also once the bike is running or when the carburetor is on. Everything should be fine. Let's see if I manage to get it started. So now I've mounted the carburetor over there, fuel tank with fuel. I didn't put water in yet because I just want to give it a try. The brakes, the rear brake is still not connected. As you see, it's missing the hose here. I have the rubber connection thing to put there so it doesn't leak gas. But first I want to try to start it. I'm so frustrated and desperate that I try to push start it. So I push the bike uphill and try to gain some speed before engaging the second gear. After hours of debugging, it seems that the problem was that one of these tiny holes here, where is it? This one here was clogged, and this is the one responsible for the idle mixture, but actually the idle air going through. Now if I manage to clean it up, and I don't know, let's try again. Die! Die, come on! listen to this now. After about 10 times I removed the carburetor and cleaned it up. I figured the problem was with the floating things that were either allowing too much fuel to go in or not allowing it at all. And now it starts. So let me put the air filter on. Then water pump seems to be working, as I've seen water going through the radiators. I still have the problem with the throttle cable, but that's not too much of a big deal. And it's leaking a little bit of water, and the lights are not working. Yeah, okay. I think it's enough for tonight. Okay, so here's the situation now. Oops. Water is leaking a little bit from somewhere. I don't know if it is the hose or the O-ring around it. I have to check that. Throttle cable, well, this is the situation now. I still have to put the rubber connection bit. 12 volts is not working. Luckily I have the battery that I'm gonna hide somewhere. And I still have to put the rear brake on. All right, now the situation is that the bike starts finally, but it doesn't run well. I'm not fully sure what is the problem, whether it is carburation that needs to be adjusted or if it has to do with the exhaust valve, which could be stuck and then it doesn't allow the exhaust gases to go through. So here's the evening update of the situation. The engine is starting now and even managed to have the idle speed, the idle RPM constant and fine, but it's still not revving up good. So I think there's a lot of work to be done on the carburation and check the exhaust valve. But as I said before, I took a gamble. I have the MOT in a week from now, and I also have my daily job to work on, which is not with bikes. Anyway, so what I'm gonna do is now, so I'm gonna bleed the rear brake. I'm going to, what else? Mount the speedometer and basically get anything else which is not engine related ready. So then I can focus on the engine and maybe ask for help to a friend of mine. Let's see. either the engine is burning coolant or the engine is burning gear oil. So this is what came out of the exhaust. I'm 11 hours away from the appointment for the road check. Can't get the rear brake to work. Let's go for the check. I'm not too confident, to be honest.